if we've got the scribe, if we just look at
When I see a black board, I'm agent provocateur. I can do this because I get in the face of everybody. As you can see, I'm just feisty. There ain't nothing on the board. The streets move quicker. As people tell you, there'll be a number of the streets move quicker.
I'm going to stand up.
Thank you. Leslie, agent provocateur.
okay.
There are experts in every single one of these. Someone left their team, which was
So I think if we look at what the key principle is, that there's if we read it out loud, I think then we will hear it at the same time. So there's two rival teams. It's called the two rival game.
yeah.
Right? In conflict with each other. Each week, they're going to play a local tournament. Now, that's on street terms, as we know, that could be a major incident or it's a major opportunity. So, what are the key things that we're going to work out here? What are the two outcomes? Look at your risk assessment of what the situation is and look at what the positive is and see which outweighs which. Okay?
So if we put on the board the negative and the positive outcomes and then just do that chart and then just bullet point them all, do you think?
Yeah. Alternatively, look at it like how the kids look at it. They look at it as though it's a business. So any scenario that they're in, it's about earning, turning paper, doing whatever it is, or likes on YouTube, or Snapchat, TikTok. That's their world. So if you do it as a business scenario, strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats, which you understand as Pricewaterhouse.
We can do it as a
Straight line down. Yeah.
just do it as a cross and we can fill
So
out
like
the box. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the risk assessment bit, is it kind of from a positive for us, we can learn more about the people?
Yes, so the strength is that there's an actual competition.
So we have them in a safe environment.
Yeah, we have to create a safe environment. So opportunity creates, because we don't have to go, oh, let's just do strength. As we see.
Point was that you did the dialogue, so you talked to them, you made him realise that actually it's not on the street, we're in a stadium. So that was a conversation. So that is key. So when you said about speaking to the coach is intervening. Fixes like it's all about communication.
So in terms of the actions then?
So I'm going to throw this in. Young techies, a group of techies, who've got a mobile phone, a laptop, and a tablet, and they've decided that they want to create the next global trend. They are now about to disrupt that particular plan that you're coming up with. How do we get the techies to buy into it, and promote and engage with what you're trying to do? So you're going to have to lean a little bit on the techie and see how they would, because that's what's happening now. They take it, they disrupt it, they distort it. Or what I'll call is the influencer, that's what they call it, the influencer. They're making hundreds of thousands of pounds a month. I asked one to get involved with the youth charter and said it's going to cost you 50 grand a month. Just to promote it and get young people interested. So the influencers, the social media influencers of young people and the lifestyle behavioural trends. How does that fit in with where you're going?
I guess you could see the star player as the influencers.
Yes.
So I guess like when we use technology.
And also threats, so just putting in there, so you just a box of threats.
Would that be
Serious quantities of
Just making them aware like what opportunities are available to them as well.
So they've introduced a techie guy, or a techie, as we know, tech's a big thing now. So what would you say as a influencer, if you was going to influence us from a tech perspective, and there's a tournament that was going on, how would you influence it?
I guess you need to see where like different. I guess you need to see where like there's say it's like the people who go to the event where they're like most likely to check, where they're most likely to like spend their time. So the top. It depends like the age group, but if it's 12 to like 16, it's going to be TikTok, Instagram, social media. And so it's like if you can get the star player to like sort of some of the opportunities that we've got here, like safe environment, can we get some of those like messages across in like a timely manner?
Yeah, from a technical perspective, I'm just looking to like, literally said, not everyone has access to digital platforms, like digital policy. Not everyone has a phone or Wi-Fi, so that could be a limitation. But in terms of the pro, I mean, I'm just going down here, like risk assessment, 100%, you've got to sign up online via this tournament, this link on whatever social media platform. You kind of capture who's there. But in terms of the coaches, like you said, like the people of influence, so like all of you would speak and show that I'm there, it's great, I don't know.
I think yeah.
Is it like followers? Like, so the star player might have like loads of followers.
Yeah.
So if the star player's like got loads of street cred and is quite A-listing, type slim, whatever he is, we don't know who it could be, right? If they've got all those followers, if you put one of these, is it TikTok or whatever, Snapchat or whatever. We have that in cricket, so we call it street cricket.
Yeah.
Instead of calling it the word gang, it is a gang, it's coming together.
Yeah.
Instead of calling it a gang, because of that negative. So
Connotation,
words can change things as well. So words are very powerful, and calling it something different just changes the whole dynamics of something.
So from your experiences, like, we've tried to get people to sign up and prior, so we kind of know who's arriving. So for a tournament like this, would that be frowned upon? Like, would they want to sign up prior? So you 100% know who's coming in?
The star player, that's the strength. So, because the star player, whether it be the striker, whether it be the leader of the group, once you engage the star player of both sides, now you've got something because they're engaged, they're invested. So if we get the star players invested in what it is that we do, that will push down.
He's the leadership, isn't he?
Yeah.
If there's like potential violence centered around that person, just by reading that, if they're on board, if that boy or girl are on board, they can then calm the whole thing down. Like,
Diffuse the situation.
yeah, they can have that dialogue with those the rest of the crew and sort it out. So it's about, is that our target? I mean, is it the fact that we speak to that person?
I think, sorry.
It's the coach might get through to their star player to defuse the situation because they want to play, so they listen to the coach. So speaking to the coach will be is a valid point.
For the star player,
Because the coach will look to the coach for guidance, for awareness.
to have the respect.
But it may be getting a narrative of actually going in there, because if they play at a really, really, really good level, because again, the session that elsewhere, we have one that plays at Coventry, and he turns up because his friends go to that school. So I've kind of said, like, because you play at a really good level, it's great that you play with your friends, but is there a genuine need for you to be here? Do you see what I'm trying to get? Like, it's good that you're coming into back, but be mindful of the fact that you bringing traction, focusing on other aspects of your game.
And I think it's good because it's normally, we have two gangs. So you have the gang that you have to be part of, which is your family. Yeah? So your family, your biological family is your first gang. Your second gang is the gang that you choose, which are your friends. You choose your gang, and often your parents won't like the gang that you choose, but you rebel by choosing the wrong gang. So we have to engage both. So most young boys or young girls, if you engage one of the parents, mostly with the boys it's the mom, right? If you engage mom, if you say something about someone's mom, right, in a negative way, right, it's a trigger. So if we can engage moms, engage biological family through the matriarchal perspective, the female. If the females are at the event of both sides, what are the chances of conflict? You got my mum there, your mum's there. You kind of cancel me out because I'm not going to act up or behave in a particular way if mum's there. Vice versa, if mum and biological family's there, and you can work with the biological family, because often we don't do that. Often we work with the young person and just miss out that whole step of what's happening.
It can go two ways though. That scenario can go two ways as well though. Because we're looking at it as devil's advocate, looking about the fact that if the positioning is there and they're doing the sledging as they're doing the tournament, they could start like making like physical kind of like connotations about the mom that's standing there. That can even be a bigger trigger. Sometimes it can be like the other way, that it can trigger the fact that, you know, they start making comments because she's there and laughing and everything. That could trigger it further. But I think what will stop is that they have the respect for the mothers there, that you're saying, is that it will ease the situation.
And the process before the tournament, all the background work that you do before, it's like, we call it shuttle mediation. So first you go to this side and we'll go X, Y and Z. But then we'll know whether or not it's a good idea to then go back to the other side and say, well, okay.
Those are the ones who are interested most of the time into football. So they're just there because they're coming to socialize with the ones that are playing. So it tells that the ones that want to play, they will fill out that span as soon as they get it. The ones that are not interested, but they just come along, because you have loads of kids out there doing stuff. They're not actually doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because their parents doing it or because their mates doing it. I play football and my mates play football just because of me. I go to a next level in my life with football and they stop where they are, but they support me. So wherever I'm playing, they will turn up to watch me play. So they are my supporter, even though they are my friends. So most of the time is not everyone turn up to play football, but they are just there to socialize.
Isn't that part of what we're about?
Yeah.
So isn't it that spectatorship that they've come to do is also a target group that are, they've got no goal, so therefore they're the people who might actually listen to them.
So we've got 2 minutes, we need to wrap up. So, we need to be
We're doing the rah-rah for the risk assessment.
So, and that's the opportunity, so a dynamic risk assessment. So, and we develop a dynamic risk assessment for every situation. That's a massive opportunity.
It's about we got kids down there, 300 and they're playing national elite players, but we've then got, as I said to you, another 800, 900 kids who aren't going to play to that level. And it's about having sports more than just on the field. That's all.
It's true. I never like to turn kids away, because from you're here. And I always want to make sure you're here, because that's why we do it, to take you off the street, even for that 2 hours to make sure.
So here's the thing, one of the kids you don't want to turn away, who's got skills, talent and potential, come up to you and give you the gun to look after. You look after it whilst you play for football. What do you do?
You won't take it.
By the way, if you exclude him, Joe, let's get real here. If they bring a gun to you, the gun is only manufactured to injure or kill. What you do with that gun, I'm not saying that you do something with the child, but that gun goes to the police, full stop. And at the end of the day, even if that child's got it, you've got to think about what planning you've got to do in that child's life, because that child had a gun.
So as a mentor, as a coach, you'd explain to that individual.
Ground rules.
Yeah, ground rules. I want you to play football, but I can't accept it. So as a responsibility to play I'm going to have to inform the team.
It's a different gig.
You're breaking a trust with that child.
So on that point, you've now heard the law as interpreted as applied by cutting loose the shackles. The whole project dies because that particular player is part of a family run that estate and puts you in prison for 5 years.
Isn't it because you've been
Yeah, because it's mandatory. For me, it's standard, you know what I mean? In the industry, if someone brings you a gun, it's done. Because it's not only listen, I'm even stammering, it's over, right? Because if it's not over, right, the whole project's over.
What if that?
In fact, your kids will never eat again.
What if that kid bring that gun to you, give it to you because he's trying to find a way out?
So you use it as a mold of coaching and tell him about the process of what you have to do.
Yeah.
Or you take a step further, is when you have events like this and you know things like that, have those bins for the knives and the guns.
You can. All I would say to you is this. It's about your integrity. It's about maintaining your integrity with that child. If it gives you the gun and you don't do anything about it, they're going to question your integrity. One day you're going to be one of them for all intents and purposes. Remember, if that happens, what you've got to do is this. There's a bigger issue here that to actually help that child in the end, right? And you can't even know. You have to deal with it in the here and now. You've got to think about what that gun is all about. And as you said, the reputation, and remember this, your reputation is so important, you can't throw it away, right? Nobody can take your reputation off you give it away, right? And that's what I would say. And there's a way of dealing with that. And I mean,
the process that I see, you know, if that young person comes to us or whoever, using around the fact that they've taken the step to give you the gun. And then if you choose the behaviour, you choose the consequence.
15-minute break. You can either go and take your supplements. Familiar Street, but what you might want to positively influence.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the aim was basically to
I'm out of here. I'm just disrupting.
I mean, yeah,
throwing things
we
in.
talked about it, so like it's to try and get these messages across that it is a safe environment. So like, I think the thing is with it depends when this is being done, because obviously if this is like a very like we find out this like 2 days before or even before the event.
It's going to be months because if it's an event, it's going to be a tournament. They're going to have to schedule.
Okay, so with that as much as just sort of like every week or every few days. So
Is it post?
yeah. I mean, you can also spend money to try and target specific groups of people. So you can target people interested in the match.
Influencer.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because the way I see social media is like, you have that, you can like, track, can't you, analytics, so like who's targeting, like who's clicking on it, and who's using it, like the hashtags, like that on Instagram, it's on the here, like hashtags, anyway, hashtag whatever.
That's good. You can create
Yeah, so the people log on to it, but the key thing for me, like, with an event, you have to, you can say like, oh, if you want to play in this tournament, I've got to register.
That's your risk assessment.
Yeah. So I know teams represent areas which conflict with each other and a week into playing a major local tournament, and there's rumours of potential violence around the star player. So we spoke about this star player being predominantly the influence. So we went down these SWOT analysis. So linking it into the risk assessment part, the star influencer could link registration. So those who are attending must use a social media platform to register for attendance, so we know who's attending. Me and Marco have had experiences where participants claim they filled out the form, they turn up unannounced, so that could be some of the negatives of that. In terms of speaking to other people of influence, i.e. the coaches who may work with both sort of targeted groups or teams, they could have a conversation with their peers, the team, sort of explaining what the tournament's about, what we're trying to get out of it. And again, the star player or influencer could sort of share good practice or promote positive messages that were linked to that tournament. I'll throw you back then. And in terms of like this pulling out the star performer, I think sometimes we were talking about that person could be the driver from a positive point of view to bring people that may not attend those sessions or may not deem it as cool or relevant, but the negatives of pulling somebody out, that influencer that could create collateral sort of damage, they may not want to attend or go from there really.
Just to let everyone know that we completely went out of the box from what was on the sheet. Because sometimes talking about the situation that you're in and the scenario you get, you can't be using certain boxes. So sometimes we have to look at different ways and methods of getting to a place where we think that this is the best solution or the best way forward. So, you know, this A, B, and C thing.
I'm going to pause that because we'd like to remember that. The frame, the model, that's all there is. You have to work within it, because we work within a society of institutions, controls. But the A, B, and C is, I don't know anyone here, I think, who wants to be in a box or a label. So that's what I'm saying. The frame is there, but please hear what's been said, because that's the keynote summary of the action learning scenarios. There are no rules anymore. There's laws. We observe those laws. There are no rules on those streets. There are laws that must be observed, and there are new behaviours and disciplines that have to be applied.
Can I just say, just like prison, out there, they'll have more rules than you have in any statutes or anything, believe me. The way that people play on the street, you know, it's not within the normal confines that we have in society. So they attach their own rules to it, right? And they will have their own style of integrity to it. And that's why you think outside the box. Because we like to think we know what they want, and the way I see this is this: the first thing that you would have to do is myth busting, yeah? Because once you've got that, you've got somewhere you can start. But it's about how you go about that, but I'll shut up now.
Sorry, that wasn't meant to be any disruption, but when I hear something that really resonates for everybody,
it's all relevant.
but please.
We're doing a team effort, you see.
Any other points?
Yeah, I think that bit that we used there, what was that at the top where they remove, for our risk assessment we looked at using what Kirk says works really well, which is that remove, avoid, reduce and accept, in order to get to understand who's there, who's coming, what are they bringing, are they going to have some tools with them, you know, how are we going to deal with that, how are we going to remove that, how are we going to do it so that they're in acceptance and we're in acceptance of what's going to happen at that place.
Because I think the scenario was that you've got 25 kids that didn't register, yeah? And you've got the rest of them there. Are you going to refuse them entry into your project, your programme, and let them just go to the street? Because if they go to the street, they're just outside your door. So you need to form some sort of, and then like the dynamic risk assessment, I use those remove, avoid, reduce, accept, because it's real quick. Can you remove the risk, for instance? Yeah, and that would be say, all right then, make sure they go, but make sure they go, yeah? If you're going to avoid it, what sort of things can you do about it? You could start off a process where you're actually communicating with them to try and get them to distance themselves. And then when I say about reduce, that really is about communication, yeah? Now, more often than not, every risk that you have in this scenario will be one where you end up accepting it based on what you've said to yourself and the answers you've got from the other 3 stages above, yeah? Because the whole thing is about kids playing sport, utilising sport, and remember, it's not just the best of the kids, it's everybody. The basketball club that I'm at, we're not looking to just produce elite players. Yeah, we do. We're looking to produce the spectators of tomorrow as well. Who's going to pay for it, yeah? So, and that's why we try to engage them in that way. So, like down at Nechel's, just the other side of this city centre now, there'll be probably 150 kids there now. But we know that about 30% of them ain't registered, as we've asked them to, but we're not going to throw them away. We're going to look at them. And if there is a conflict, and the biggest thing about conflicts is this, you've got to ask yourself in the very first instance, what do you want to do with that conflict? Is there an option to do nothing? Of course there is. There's always an option to do nothing. But in trying to transform whatever that is, are you just going to manage it, or are you going to rebuild relationships? Because that's what you want if you're going to get them through the door. You've got to rebuild relationships somehow, somewhere. And again, I'll shut up.
I think we've got a minute just for Leslie to talk about the 2 groups. So, you know, you talk about family and the sports people. Just that little bit as well, just to add an extra twist to things.
Yeah, I think, and again, circumstances come, but there's always two scenarios, and there's two families, there's always two families. So you've got your biological family, we call it like West Side Story, some of us are old enough to know about West Side Story. So we call it a West Side Story scenario, where that's the family that you've chosen, we've chosen that. But then there's your biological family. So your biological family then comes out, okay, is it your mom or is it dad? Now who's the influencer within that group? How do we influence the person to influence the influencer? So therefore, within that dynamic risk assessment, we will be influencing the influencers and then looking at subtle mediation, even if it was between the two parents, to then have a situation where we've got what we call calm. And I'm sure the team's been eloquent enough whilst I was in the room to like go through the whole star player and a sequential system of being able to nullify any risks. Because we talk outside of the box, and when Jeff first interrupted our group as an interrupter, we kind of went, okay, I went straight back to our conflicts, where we would go, okay, Jeff's from London, UKKW, we're from the Midlands. When our two teams came together, we became the best team in the world. But that was only by putting our star players together and then looking at the dynamic risk assessment around what does it mean putting Jeff Thompson alongside Vic Charles, alongside Jimmy Campbell, alongside Eugene Codrington, which are all, these are global names, putting them together and then getting the formulation, getting those people to work in the team. Because our young people are just team players. Thank you.